All the information behind this type of technology is Steve. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve from SI.
First of all, I want to clarify that by no means whatsoever am I a technical person. I understand the basic parts of it, but in essence, I'm one of those evil business development kind of sales guys. But I promised Nick that I'd make this more of a kind of a learning process on how do you take a device, how do you connect a device, how do you make sure that devices are connected in a secure way from the SIM level to the data center level to the cloud level. Basically, we talk about devices, and without even looking at the presentation, I recall that they're projecting 10 billion devices by the end of next year and 22 billion by the end of 2025. So when we speak of device, it can be, yeah, your sports watch is a device, but it's not really a connected device so much because it's using Bluetooth and it's connecting to your phone. I'm talking about connecting devices primarily with technologies using cellular connectivity, although there are other types of connectivity for devices such as Sigfox, ZigBee, LoRa, other types of devices, but most of them are connected using cellular connectivity because devices are moving. Examples are elderly people or young people who have those watches where they can call their family or press an alarm. Those all have a SIM card in them. Almost all of us use these data terminals in shops or wherever to put our credit card in, from Ingenico or from whatever particular company that's providing them. They have SIM cards. Companies track assets and vehicles using them. Most vending machines have SIM cards in them. So what I'm going to talk about today is basically how to ensure that you have the right degree of data connectivity at the SIM level, at the data center level, and at the cloud level. So this is more of a kind of a tutorial on what we've experienced over the last three years. This example I'm going to be using when we speak of cloud is with AWS IoT Core, but we're also beginning to work now. In fact, this month our CTO is traveling to Redmond, Washington to meet with Microsoft Azure to do the same thing. You can tell by my accent that I'm not Norwegian. Original kommer jag från San Francisco, men jag bodde i Norge för nästan 20 år och i Europa för nästan 30 år. Jag kan norska, men jag brukar engelska som jobbspråk. So that's what you're going to see here today. So the challenges basically that customers are experiencing when typically using cellular connectivity. You can see the 10 billion devices that I mentioned and 22 billion devices in low energy Bluetooth, ZigBee, LoRa, Sigfox is alternatives to connectivity, but that's particularly for static devices over shorter distances where cellular connectivity can work anywhere in the world. So what is a customer looking for when they want the optimal kind of device connectivity? They want a consistent model. They want to make sure that they have global connectivity for every device. Another way of looking at it is manufacturing one supply keeping unit or SKU and having one particular SKU for all of your devices worldwide with one invoice and one contract. They're also looking for simplified management of their entire estate. They want quicker returns on business. And they'd like to have improved data security at the SIM data center and at the cloud level. So anyway, as I said, there's three levels. With SI and not just SI, but anyone who uses basically SIM cards has some degree of data security. Our AnyNet Secure SIMs are basically programmed with firmware such that it's highly encrypted. So there's a high degree of M2M standard ISO 27001 data security in the actual SIM. We operate our own data centers, so we have full control of them. They're located anywhere from Africa through Europe, the United States, Australia, India, etc. And because of that, we have complete control when we meet the ISO 27001 standards. We have our own private APN, as you can see there, and also provide VPN. And the most important thing that we've accomplished, which you'll see in the next several slides, is an automatic provisioning and certificate exchange and security validation of certificates in accessing the IoT core, or can also be used for Microsoft Azure. We do it already for Azure, but it's not automatic, and that's what we're currently working with Microsoft on right now to accomplish. So what's the difference between local mobile network operators and a company like SI? SI provides cellular connectivity in 170 different mobile network operators in 190 countries with one invoice and one contract, with, as you'll see in a moment, 99.75% uptime. The local mobile network operators basically are focusing primarily initially on mobile telephone use, and have then moved to IoT. Now granted, some, like Telenor Connection and Tele2, they do have roaming throughout parts of the world, but the smaller MNOs, basically there's a commercial advantage for them to not roam away from their network and keep people connected on their own core network. So for example, if you're using Telefonica in Spain and you travel to the UK, Telefonica would like to keep you on Telefonica and not switch to a cheaper or better provider of connectivity in the UK because it benefits them financially to stay on their own network. So as you can see, there are problems with the basically local mobile network operators that were developed for mobile phone use. Status quo, these are only some of the major local mobile network operators. Some of them are quite large. Of course, in the area of Europe, besides Vodafone, we could add companies such as Telia, Telenor, Tele2, in Finland, DNA, Elisa, etc. So what we try to do is change the status quo at SI. Basically, the status quo that currently exists, if you're on Telefonica, as I mentioned, Telefonica doesn't work, you don't have a good connection. They have to actually switch SIMs, put a Vodafone SIM in, I'm speaking of device now, which means that a technical person or someone from the company has to go out and actually swap SIMs. That costs money, that takes time. And the other thing that it causes is you have a multiple number of contracts. I have some customers I deal with that switch to us that had as many as 140 different mobile network operators and 140 different invoices and contracts to reconcile every month. So we try to create a new way of thinking, and we call it ubiquitous cellular connectivity. So basically with SI, the firmware basically connects, and we have what's called multi-IMSI, which is one of our differentiating features. IMSI is International Mobile Subscriber Identity, but another way of looking at it is multiple pathways into a single mobile network operator. So say, for example, you're connecting a device from London to Oslo, and you're using Vodafone as the backbone of the pathway, or as the IMSI in this case. Or British Telecom, which had a big outage last year that you probably heard a lot about that affected a lot of companies that lost billions of dollars because of it. What we do with our multi-IMSI approach is we can instantaneously and over the air switch to another of our IMSIs, up to 12 to 15, which means that to the user it's completely invisible and they have cellular connectivity even if there's a problem with maintenance or downtime with one of the IMSIs. We also can do the same thing. We offer between 2 and 50 different mobile network operators per country. So if we search for the strongest signal and we connect the device to the strongest signal without looking at what's most beneficial for us from a cost perspective, but more so what's best for the customer. Now, this is for the more technical people here. Basically, it's just what I just said. That basically you take the SIM card, which is here. It has the multiple IMSI profiles. We have our own managed connectivity platform, which I'll talk about a little bit more later. It connects to the different MNOs, and the MNOs mobile network operators, excuse me, connect them to the different roaming options in each country. What that means is unified billing, easy management of the SIM estate, and a single support interface. The reason I'm looking at the screen is that either my eyes or the text on this is much smaller than I imagined it would be. So let's talk about AWS now, and this is more a cloud example. It's not meant to be pro AWS. AWS is the largest cloud provider, followed by Microsoft, followed by Google. But basically, SI was asked by Microsoft in a competition involving about 20 different cellular connectivity providers that are on Gartner's Magic Quadrant for IoT. And we were asked to develop a system that would automatically, basically, connect their SIMs to the IoT core and exchange and verify certificates to ensure the highest degree of data integrity. So, without talking much, you can see the process that occurs when we do so. So for someone who develops the device, basically it's plug and play. As soon as you turn it on, it connects directly to IoT core and can access a variety of their services such as Greengrass, such as Device Defender, and do data analytics and many other functions that are provided by Amazon and also by Microsoft Azure. This gets a little bit more technical, but this is the process by which if you wanted to develop a device to connect to Amazon, we have a free Amazon RTOS development kit. You design a device, create the data edge device using Greengrass, go through our system that was described earlier. The other advantage of using, and the same thing happens with Azure, they have their own system of billing that is not in megabytes, but as in the case of Amazon, it's called MQTT messages. So basically you get one bill from Amazon that includes your cellular connectivity, and it's billed through MQQT messages. What this means to the consumer and to the customer and to each business is it's about 20% cheaper than being charged by the megabyte. And instead of having one bill from your cellular connectivity provider, whoever that might be, and one from Amazon or Microsoft Azure, you have one bill in total. So this is how this works. These are the different services that are provided by Amazon. This goes into a little bit more detail, but one of the things that we do provide is called a SIM Information Account Management Portal, and basically that's just a portal that allows you to get an overall view of your SIM estate, which could be millions of SIMs across the world. You can look at a map and you can see where each of your devices that have a SIM in it are located. Now this is not GPS. We provide that also with modems that support GPS. This is built into the SIM. So you can see between a half a kilometer and 2 kilometers where each device is located. Then you can go and dig down further and further and further and see the actual amount of data that's used per device, per hour, per minute, per second. And you can find out if there's too many handshakes going on, why are the data consumption so high. You can set limits and alerts to ensure that there's no bill shock. So if you have a 20 megabyte data package on your device, you can have an alert at 15 megabytes at 20. You can auto suspend at 30. You can terminate at 40 megabytes or the equivalent currency. Device design is just another service. This gets into more of the thing I'm not supposed to do is sales, but we can design a device in as little as 3 months using rapid prototyping. This is just for you to be aware in case you know of a company or your company needs to have a device designed. Typically, what we do is the company has their own device. We provide the cellular connectivity or SIM card in it. We provide it in form factors of what's called 2FF, 3FF, 4FF, and embedded, or eSIM, as you probably have heard. So in summary, we can manage the hardware design and optimize it. We provide global multi-network cellular connectivity through 170 mobile network operators in 190 plus countries. We have that open API metadata platform. We have enhanced security, seamless cloud integration, and a single point of global support. We also provide our own hardware. We have been involved with a lot of developing nations, particularly in Africa. We have over 1 million SIMs deployed in Africa with projects such as Solar Now, which basically provides electricity to small households who didn't have electricity before, and basically through their mobile phone can purchase electricity using microfinancing to provide electricity for the home, and if necessary or if desired, for such things as charging their iPhone or having a television in their place of living. We also do a thing called e-water. You see e-water pay there. That was basically a system where we provide the payment mechanisms for providing water to rural developing countries in Uganda and Kenya and Tanzania, throughout most of Africa. And what this does is provide water to villages that never had water before. And again, it's through using the cell phone as a payment device for microfinancing at a very low cost, the availability of water. This is just a little bit about the history and the awards that we won, but what's interesting is the two founders of SI were the founders of ZigBee. Some of you have probably heard of ZigBee as a communication methodology. It's typically used in the device world to connect a gateway to a number of sensors. One of our customers, for example, has smart washrooms, where basically there's a gateway in the toilet that tells you when the toilet dispenser needs to be filled, or the soap dispenser, or whatever, paper towels need to be filled, how many visitors come through, when the restroom needs to be cleaned, etc. Smart washrooms is what they call it. These are just some of the different segments that were involved. I've mentioned some of them: smart city, vending, what I call industrial IoT, consumer products. Consumer products are primarily for us right now robotic mowers, you'll see one in a moment with Positech, but also with Bosch. Telematics is a big part of our business, tracking vehicles and assets globally. Healthcare is also a big part, and there's a few in there that aren't listed. This is the Positech robotic mower. It tells about how they came to us. This whole process happened in a matter of 3 months. They came to us in January, said we want to produce in China, we want to go global, and we are able to provide the connected device for them within a 3-month time period, and there's approximately 100,000 connected now. We do the same thing with Bosch, but Bosch is not on AWS. Costa, you've heard of probably Costa Coffee, particularly if you've been in the UK. They basically wanted to create a special vending machine that replicated the barista experience, which means instead of using powdered milk, using fresh milk. So basically using our technology and one of the hardware components I showed earlier in a slide, they basically developed this very smart machine that has 90 sensors that tells you the temperature of the milk, when the milk needs to be changed, when the machine needs to be maintained. And these are typically located in hard to connect places from a cellular connectivity standpoint, because they're in the back of grocery stores, gas stations. You've probably seen them around. They got purchased by Coke. Coke wants to use the same technology for its chilled drinks in preparation for the Japan Summer Olympics, and also for the Chinese market. These are some of the companies that we work with, but that's about all I have. And I'm sorry if I got too salesy. Your attention on such a fine late summer evening.